Welcome everybody to the Together Pop-Up Poetry Café. We were last here in July. We had a wonderful night then, and I'm really looking forward to hearing your poems this evening. I'm Ju Gosling, also known as Ju90, and I'm going to start with some audio description. I'm a white woman with pale olive skin, green eyes behind black plastic glasses, mostly silver coloured jewellery, but I also have a red and gold glass pendant round my neck. I've got a red pound shop Christmas trilby on in recognition and celebration of the season, and I have a paisley patterned shirt in greens, blues, yellows. Not quite sure how else to describe it. Behind me, I have the Together 2012 graffiti banner, and again, in recognition not only of the fact that it's December, but that many people are actually under snow today, I've got a little paper snowman and a rainbow Christmas tree just over the top of the sort of laser coloured, how do we describe it? I'm not quite sure. It's a very silvery, sparkly cloth that goes over the back of a load of musical instruments that are mercifully hidden underneath. So that's what you're looking at tonight. If you would rather look at the captions in a form where you can see them much larger, you can adjust the font size, you're not having to worry about them appearing and disappearing, then if you go to the chat, there is a link that you can follow to get the captions up full screen. That's posted in the chat, and to get to the chat, you go to view and click on view chat. But Zoom, as we all know, it can be a bit deceptive. It's got two view buttons. So you want the view button on the left, not the view button on the right that tells you whether you want speaker view or gallery view. But if you click on that link, if you want those captions, I'm delighted that Norma McKay is here from Global Real-Time Captioning, our wonderful captioning service, and there are live captions. If you want to see the live captions at the same time as seeing us, just click on the CC button, which is usually, but not always with Zoom, on the bottom right hand corner of the screen. So that's the sort of little bits of description. I'm not going to do any more housekeeping because I think you all know where your kitchens and your fire exits are. But in terms of the kitchen, all of our events are marked by free refreshments. We're really sorry that that's not possible tonight, but if you haven't eaten yet, do go and grab yourself a drink, get some food, settle down, and we've got lots and lots of poems to enjoy. I'd just like to thank our funders, Arts Council England and National Lottery Community Fund. And of course, I would like to thank our interpreters, Anna Kitson and Ben Bridger. If I'm speaking too fast or anybody else is speaking too fast, just put that in the live chat and we will slow down. I think that's been the best way, through most events, is if people are going too fast, just tell us, because we want you to be able to access the whole event. So I'm just going to look at who is already here and introduce our first poet. Now, we're on a Zoom webinar, so it's just going to take us a little bit of time each time to click people on and off. But ACT UP Newham, I believe, is Sahira Khan. Welcome, Sahira. I'm just going to say, allowed to talk. Let's promote you to a panelist, Sahira. I think that's going to make it easier. And then if you could put a spotlight on Sahira, Emily in the background, that would be wonderful. Oh, I love the outfit, Sahira. Hannah, we can see you. I hope you can see us. And I think you just need to take your microphone.
Can you hear us?
Now we can, yes.
Good. Yes. Is it Sahira's turn?
It is Sahira's turn.
Oh, Sahira, ready? Okay, are you ready? It says it's called, can you hear me? It's called Love. Can you hear me from here?
We can.
Great. Okay. Love by Sarah. I, Sarah, know everything about love. I love swimming. I love friends. I love music and dancing. I love theatre. I love music and birds. I love the woods. I can teach you everything about love. Okay.
That was brilliant, Sarah, and that's a new poem, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, she's telling you that, yeah, she's doing a drama course at the moment, so she wrote that for that.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Sarah. And I'm just reading in the chat. Renee says, Sarah, that's a fabulous outfit. DL Williams says, love the effort, Sarah. Great stuff. All the warm and fuzzies. And Natasha says, that was lovely. Thank you very much indeed, Sarah. Emily will now switch you off again in our strange kind of zoomy way. And I'm going to look to see who I can ask to perform next. And I think next on my list is Cheryl Mcclellan. So I'm just wondering if we can bring Cheryl in. While we're doing that, I'm just going to tell you a little bit more about our poetry programme. We run the Pop-Up Poetry Club every Wednesday morning from 10:30 to 12 by phone. We phone you and we pay for the costs. I appreciate that's not accessible to everybody because it's not accessible to me, but it's the best we can do in the circumstances because a number of our poets don't have access to the internet. And I'm delighted that recently Cheryl has not only joined the Pop-Up Poetry Club, but she also performed for us 2 weeks ago at our Having a Laugh comic poetry event with 3 other poets, and I'll tell you more about them later. That performance is still online on our website, on the festival event page, as with all of our past events, so you can still go and enjoy those poems. But now, Cheryl, what are you going to read us tonight?
Well, the first poem that I'm going to read tonight is about when I left the north of England and I moved down to the southeast. The only spaghetti that I had ever eaten came out of a can. So basically, I was invited round to my friend's parents for lunch, dinner to me, but lunch to me. So we got round. So this poem is called No Roast Today. The strangeness of eating spaghetti on a Sunday. Traditionally, up north, the day for a good roast. It was such long spaghetti. I wrapped it around my fork into a massive, far too big for my mouth bundle. I felt as northern as coals stuck in the rim of a flat cap, trying not to tug on my forelock, cautiously cruising along on my flat bowels, weaving in and out of the conversation, wedging myself in here and there with the odd word, whilst trying to extricate myself from the sloppy and monstrous mess. So that was having this long spaghetti with a sloppy tomato sauce in front of these people that I didn't know, and it was all too southern at that time for me, I'm afraid. And the second poem is called The Sweeper. I go to a little place in Camden, have a cup of tea there, and there's a guy, Freddie, that was working, sweeping the streets there a couple of years ago. And this is called The Sweeper, and it's called Freddie. So Freddie, a young guy with an old face, he looked a bit like Rod Stewart, swept the Camden streets. He picked up a paper cup out of the gutter, placed it on top of the wheelie bin, turned to me and said, "That's me done, I'm off now." And then, unbeknown to him, a strong gust of wind lifted the cup and blew it up into a tree, where to this day it still sits patiently for you to see. And by its side, a Santa Claus beard turned grey with pollution, probably the same colour as Freddie's lungs. So those are my two little poems.
Thank you very much, Cheryl. I'm not sure I'm going to have room for everybody to do two, but if they're short, then like Cheryl's, then do go ahead. So Kate was saying, I love the line about the coals in the flat cap, Cheryl. It made me laugh out loud. And it made me laugh too, but not out loud, as you can see, because I'm keeping my polite host face on. There's a query in the chat. No, you do not have to switch your camera on in order to read a poem. For some people that will be helpful, and for some people it won't. But Emily, in the meantime, if you can take the spotlight off Cheryl and switch Cheryl's camera back off. And then I'm wondering, as we have some of our guests with us, let me just check to see everybody who's in the house. Rihanna, would you like to read next? And while we're organising that, I'm just going to tell you a little bit more about the Pop-Up Poetry Club. We've been going since 2014. We originally had funding from the People's Health Trust, and that was really useful because it allowed us to buy poetry books and amplification equipment and, of course, an induction loop. So we have Rihanna with us now. Emily, if you could pop a spotlight onto Rihanna, wonderful. And I'll leave Rihanna to introduce herself.
Okay, my partner's just tried to like shuffle out of the picture, so I'm just going to embarrass you and put you back in. Oh, sorry, it's saying unmute myself, but you can hear me, can't you?
We can hear you. I think that's just Zoom for you.
Yeah, the usual Zoom stuff. Lovely to be here. I have a short poem for today called Opening, which is after the Alice Walker poem, Broken Things, which when I read it immediately became a favourite for me on a disability level. And this poem also ended up in a lovely zine called Joyful Noise, which is the first queer zine to come out of an organisation called Andrew and Eve, who are doing kind of queer poetry in the north of England. Though I'm not in the north, I got in there by Zoom. But that is lottery funded and is free. So if you're on this and you're queer and you want some joy, that's worth going on their website and grabbing a free copy of that. All you have to pay is postage. And it is full of joy. But anyway, poem. Okay, so this is Opening after Alice Walker. I am so much more whole since I became a broken thing. It took my back finally cracking, my joints pulling painful laterals, my skull cleaving open to truly let me out. There is such freedom where you can no longer keep up appearance. And that's all from me.
Thank you very much, Rihanna. I will get, because of switching over in time, I'll get Emily to switch you off again. But I was going to say, yes, I've got a poem responding to similar subjects, and that was great. Natasha said the imagery is exquisite, Rihanna. And D.L. Williams says, wow. And Wendy Young says, lovely. Jemima, I think you're probably ready. So Jemima isn't going to have her camera on, but we're going to... yes, I'm not quite sure what's going to happen, but can we unmute Jemima? Jemima, I've always known as a wonderful filmmaker, so I'm really looking forward to Jemima's poem tonight. And I should flag up the International Together Disability Film Festival starts tomorrow and runs all weekend. Do we have Jemima's sound? Could somebody try?
I think so. Can you hear us?
We can, that's brilliant.
That was Jemima saying hello, but she's going to talk now with her AAC. Okay, are you ready?
I have 2 cats, Casper and Millie. I like cuddling them on my lap, and they help me relax. I think they have a nice life. I wish I was a cat. If I was a cat, I would curl up on my human's lap, or on the warm patches on the floor, where the underfloor heating toasts my tummy. If I was a cat, I would steal cheese pasties, cheese scones, 4 cheese pizza, anything my human left to cool. If I was a cat, I would stretch on the deck in hot summer sun to warm my fur, bounce through the grass and climb the trees, perch like an owl on the fence post, then roll where my human is planting cabbages, hide under giant rhubarb leaves and stalk the robin. If I was a cat, I would lick out the cream pot, clean it with my paw and suck every drop, then jump on a lap and clean my whiskers. Then I would knead my human's chest, lick her hand and share her wheelchair, and purr when she strokes my head.
Oh, I loved that. Renee Wallen says, I can visualize those cats very clearly. How lovely. I've actually got a cat trying to get on my lap at the moment. So I think it was just really attracted by Jemima's poem. Thank you for that, Jemima. And thank you for interpreting that so beautifully, Anna. I loved that as well. If only my cat was behaving like that, but it's not actually sort of stretching out and being loving. It's more sort of, let me up. Let me up. And Cheryl says, wonderful poem. Beauty in Normalcy says, wow, love the imagery. Dia Williams says, cats have the life. Also loving Anna's characterization of the cats. And Wendy Young says, gorgeous. Now I'm looking at my list. Bear with me. And I think it would be great to have another guest in. Natasha, are you ready to read? So just quickly, while we're getting Natasha in, to tell you a little bit more about tomorrow's film festival programme. Tomorrow, as you almost certainly know already, is International Day of Disabled People. And we have a special programme to celebrate that. We've got short films from Ghana and Brazil and a full-length feature documentary, We Make Film, which is from India. And we also have an hour's recording of conversation where our chair, Julie Newman, interviewed the filmmakers for We Make Film. So that's a conversation about disability, inclusion and filmmaking. This year, all of our programmes are released for 12 hours rather than being live streamed. We do have a timed programme on Zoom for anybody who wants audio description, but otherwise you can access those programmes between midday and midnight and they will be embedded. So let's just, if you could spotlight Natasha, wonderful, thank you. Greetings, Natasha. And Natasha has also been awarded one of the Disability Arts online commissions that we sponsored earlier in the year. So we're looking forward to seeing more of her poetry in the new year. But just introduce your poem now, Natasha.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. So my poem is called Solidad. It's about basically trying to make sense of anxiety and depression and all those things that a lot of people, you know, have trouble talking about. It's kind of trying to destigmatize mental health, and I guess just trying to accept it for what it is. Okay, Soledad. My mother named me Soledad, the Spanish word for loneliness. I never understood why I belonged to such a foul sound, the S slinking between my teeth in the same fashion solitude lurked in a crowded room. Perhaps I was a lonely child, born out of misplaced hope that I could replace what she had lost. I have since learned that a lonely heart cannot sustain another. Even so, I shall care for my little Soledad, nurturing its heavy head when the silence gets too loud, never judging or blaming its sentiment, just sitting quietly by as a familiar companion.
That was beautiful. Thank you, Natasha. There's lots in the chat, too much for me to keep up with actually, but beautiful, moving. Rihanna says, love the S linked between my teeth line, and Glory says, congratulations. Yes, that was beautiful. I really look forward to hearing more in the new year. And I'm wondering, Anthony, if you're able to come in next, perhaps, because you're writing a poem together, I understand, for the Disability Arts Online Commission. While we're bringing in Anthony, I should say, if you're interested in disability film, we've got 2 lunchtime conversations on Saturday and Sunday between 1 and 2. We used to fund the refreshments on a Saturday. Now we don't have that expense. You're bringing your own refreshments. We've extended the conversations till Sunday. So on Saturday, we'll be looking at barriers to work, and on Sunday, we'll be looking at Zoom. Is it a stopgap or a new art form? Let me just see. Do we have Anthony? Oh, wonderful. And if we can just pop a spotlight on Emily. So I'll let you introduce this, Anthony.
Hi everyone. Can you hear me? Just checking because I've had some bit of tech problems, so I'm a bit late joining. I've been writing a poem with Natasha for Disability Arts Online, and although we're still busy prepping it to show you all in the new year, I've got a poem here that is for a new book I'm currently writing. It's called I Always. I always cared. I did. I do. When you're alone, afar, or surrounded by loved ones on all sides, I loved you whether you did or not at that time. I was, and I stayed with you, no matter how far either of us were at the time. I poured my heart and soul into care, though you never did the same. I was probably just an eager fan, a person who had their use, a person who cared so much, and this may not be untrue. I guess I should see the many stop signs, warnings and putting too much care and kindness where there is none. I need to save myself, for I've been here before, many a time. I always care, no matter how far. I wish you the best, and I hope he's different from all the others. And if not, I'm sorry. I guess I fought my whole life to keep caring, and it's gotten too much. But still I'll fight as it is worth it. Caring from afar, even if it's a goodbye. I truly hope they're different from all the others, and cherish your heart and soul, your mind. But for I have to go, all I can only say is goodbye, as it's hard to care more than humanity is capable of. Sometimes it just gets too much. So for now, goodbye. I hope for you when you realise how beautiful you are.
Thank you, Anthony. Natasha said, I can truly feel the pain of letting go. So beautiful. Emily said, heartbreaking and beautiful. I think it's a great poem to remember that what we need to do is care about ourselves first and be kind to ourselves first before we start even thinking about caring for others. And that's so important at the moment and has been for the last couple of years. And we can all give ourselves care without worrying that it's going to be rejected. And yes, I mean, DL says, so honest and beautiful. Wendy Young says, yes, beautiful, Anthony. Like I say, we're very much looking forward to the Joint Commission in the new year. Emily, if you pop the spotlight off, I see DL Williams is in the audience, and I wonder if DL would like to perform next. Just to flag up a few more things while we're bringing DL on, all of our events have BSL interpretation, that's British Sign Language interpretation, and live captions, meaning genuinely live. So, you know, if you're coming to this event for the first time and finding it accessible, hopefully the rest will be as well, including the recordings of the events you've already missed. So if we can spotlight DL, brilliant.
Hi, sorry, just sorting stuff out. Hi, my name's DL Williams, and I'm a poet, a bilingual poet. I use both English and BSL. But I feel I should point out that what I'm doing right now is not BSL. This I would describe as SLC or Sound Exact English. It's where the sounding follows the English. I just wanted to make that clear. So the poem I'm going to do today is called TMISLI, and it's just a reflection on my relationships with interpreters and how much they get to see of me, and boundaries. So enjoy. Sometimes I wonder, do my interpreters know me too well? Where do we draw the line? I know they have professional boundaries, but where do I draw mine? Working in theatre and backstage, tropes have seen me in my drawers. And when my belt got caught in my knickers, one nearly saw a lot more. They've seen me nervous backstage. They've seen me psych myself up. And when I've cocked up a poem, they've seen me beat myself up. After an energetic rehearsal, I queried if my new bra was up to the task. The director, the tech, and the co-star were all men. Who else was I going to ask? I've asked them if my eczema's improving. I've wiped my glasses on an interpreter's dress. I've asked them to hold things for me for a minute. These things and more, I confess. They've seen me coming off medication, the lows of antidepressant withdrawal. They've been there for the awards and the post-shows, the highs when I'm having a ball. They've also been there in the dark moments, translating the diagnosis in my eyes, or relaying the loss of the high pitches. The interpreters have seen me cry. The interpreters have seen me annoyed, happy, excited, sad. And genuinely, sometimes I wonder if I'm the weirdest client they've had. But the thing I wonder most of all is, where should we draw that line? Maybe it's case by case, but still, when is it TMISLI? Thank you.
Thank you, DL. That was brilliant. It really struck a chord with me as a personal assistance user. I think a lot of people who use other forms of support and assistance can also really relate to that. I once made a dance film with my PA, and I'm sure I've roped PAs into all sorts of other things, but I've never written a poem about them. So thank you for that. Renee says, fantastic, honest, funny and insightful. Loved it. Anthony says, funny, witty, beautiful, amazing. Rihanna says, brilliant humour and presence. The humour in this is gold, says Natasha. So and it goes on and on and on. That was great. Thank you, DL. And if we can switch spotlights again, I see we have Glory Sango in the house from the Pop-Up Poetry Club. Glory, would you like to switch yourself on and read us a poem? And while Emily and Glory are sorting that out, I'd like to draw your attention to the fact that on Tuesday night, our great friend, the cellist Joanne Cox, returns for an hour of performance, discussion, and then you're going to have the opportunity after it finishes to use a special app that she's created to create your own music. So that's going to be a great evening. And then on Thursday in a week's time, we've got our end of festival party, and I'll tell you more about that in a minute. Glory, if you just pop yourself off mute, just switch your mic on, we're good to go. And if you want to introduce yourself.
Hello, my name's Glory Sanger, and today, ladies and gentlemen at home, I'm going to read my poem out to you, everybody. Here I go. Are you all ready with me, you all ears? Here I go. 3, 2, 1. Ready, steady, go. Sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. Here I go. Autumn colours. It was autumn, but it snowed. I was skiing down the hills. Then the rainbow started coming. It was becoming brighter. It was very light with lots of colours. I was skiing down, trying to be careful. So I was taking time to be careful. I stopped so I could have a cup of tea and biscuits. Then I skied down faster. Plastic cup. You put water in the plastic cup to drink it. Also, you can taste pineapple juice, and after you can drink milk, then you can drink apple juice as well. That's the end of my poem, ladies and gentlemen at home. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much indeed, Glory, and that was beautifully read. So we're going to take the spotlight off. Julie says, well done, Glory, that was excellent, you followed your poems. Margaret says, nice, Glory. Wendy says, thank you, Glory, lovely. And Jemima is clapping, and Jemima had, well, actually there's lots and lots of more comments than I can possibly read. Like I say, if you haven't got the chat up, go to the second of the view buttons on the Zoom in the top left hand corner, and you can get view chat up and have a look for yourself. So Anthony says, thanks so much for reading for us from the heart. I'd like to ask, I think, Kate Rollison to come on next. And Kate, you're a panelist, so you might find it a little bit easier. Kate is an up-and-coming international artist who, I'm delighted to say, joined our team at the beginning of the autumn as our youth.
Hello, here I am.
Hi, Kate. We're going to just pop the spotlight on you. So Kate has been doing a great job since, and part of her work has been to create family activities for the festival. So every Saturday, we've been releasing a family activity for people to enjoy in their own time. It is family, which means it's accessible to adults as well. So far up there with Kate, we are learning how to make paper lanterns, how to make scrapbooks, and how to make papier-mâché trinket trays, all with recycling things that you already have at home. But tonight we're going to tap into yet another of Kate's many talents, because she's a very talented textile artist, writer, poet. Without further introduction, Kate is going to read us one of her poems. Sorry, got distracted by a cat again, I did warn you.
So this is a poem I wrote in one of our Wednesday poetry clubs, and the theme that week was plastic waste. And this is about some of the plastic waste that's found at Walthamstow Marshes on occasion. So it's called The Marsh. There's a body in the water. No, a shop mannequin. Sorry. One sec. I'll start again. There's a body in the water. No, a shop mannequin. Nothing behind the painted eyes. Wreathed in duckweed, a supermarket trolley's wheels jut out, aiming for the canal path, where unwanted history books tell redundant histories, splayed open in a puddle. Puddle educates itself. Puddle dries itself of boredom. From time to time, a narrowboat pulls up, crates of 45s laid outside. Vinyl's in again. These records won't be thrown like a discus into the scummy water, but played at dinner parties. The hosts and guests wouldn't dream of consuming single-use plastics as they dance in their seats to the well-worn grooves. Thanks.
Thank you very much indeed, Kate. And to access our family activities, just go to our website, www.together2012.org.uk, click on the link for the Disability History Month Festival, and you will find it very quickly. If we can just take that spotlight off Emily. Now, I'm going to try, partly to give our captioners and interpreters a rest, playing a video from Sahira Khan. Sahira actually performed for us on Tuesday, but unfortunately she isn't able to join us tonight, so she's asked me to play this video instead. Last year at the festival, we published an anthology, 20 poems for 2020, on the theme of Together. And this is Sahira's poem, Why Together? It was written in English, but then she was given funding earlier in the year to make a video for the festival. I think, I can't swear to this, I'm terribly sorry, but I think this is captioned and in British Sign Language. So I'm going to have a go at sharing the screen now.
Why Together? Why Together by Sahira Khan. Why together is important. Do you understand what together is? Together. No need to answer. But together is one community. Together. To support each other, to care for each other, to avoid fighting and war, to avoid politics and injustice. Do you get it? Together. Peace, love, and freedom. To be happy, laugh, and relax. Together is one community. Together forever. Together. Why Together by Sahira Khan. Her poem published in Together 2020 Poetry Anthology, Together 2012.
Sahira, thank you for that, Sahira. Could you just pop the spotlights back on all of us, Emily? Yes, I'm not entirely sure where mine came off, but thank you for that. So who will we choose next? I'm just going to double check who's in the audience. Like I say, you can still find the Together 2020 Poetry Anthology on our website. It's also available as a PDF to download. We chose the subject for obvious reasons, but for anybody who's not familiar with our printed materials, which have been in storage for rather a long time now, our slogan is "Together we're strong, together we can change our world." We do actually have our own kind of simplified sign version of that, but unfortunately with a microphone stand I can't actually do it. So I'm just going to also pick up a few more comments. Renee said, "So sorry I have to go. Really enjoyed that." D.L. Williams said, loved how her BSL signs flowed smoothly into each other. Great message. Kate says, "Such a strong message." Cheryl says, "Brilliant." Margaret says, "Together we enjoyed that." And I think that is absolutely right. Another of the poets who performed at our Having a Laugh gig a couple of weeks ago is Wendy Young. And I see that Wendy Young is in the house, and I'm wondering if Wendy is prepared to give us a poem. We'll see if we can persuade her. I'll let Emily press her buttons behind, I say behind the scenes, really she's in Essex. So she's not behind the scenes, she's in a different place on Zoom. But our chair, the artist and activist Julie Newman, is indeed in the same house as me, just in a different part. And I'm going to come to you next, I think, Julie. Wonderful. Here is the amazing Wendy Young. I think you just need to take your microphone off mute.
Yeah, I clicked on join and then I zoomed out and zoomed in again. And yeah, lovely to see you. And it's a fantastic night, this. It's been fantastic. Yeah, I'm just going to do a poem. This one was in the Neurodivergency magazine, Magical Women. And it's something that my therapist keeps saying, do mantras to feel good about yourself. And I was asked to write a mantra by Eleanor for Magical Women, and I came up with this, and it applies to everybody. Just do a positive mantra. It's called Awesome Enchantress. Oh, where have you gone? Come here. I was all ready, and it's you know what it's like. Sorry.
We know exactly what Zoom's
like. Oh, it was all there. It was there, and it's like, I'm so sorry.
While I'm finding that, Wendy, I'll just explain to everybody else what I was saying to the interpreters before we started. When we started this live streaming business with no notice whatsoever, no experience and no idea what we were doing, we quickly discovered that nothing works the way it's supposed to. And
yeah.
a long while trying to find explanations. Robin Surgener, also known as Angry Fish, our co-host up in the West Midlands, said it's basically the internet runs on magic and it's infested by gremlins. So the gremlins have eaten your poem. Have you found it?
I found it. Yeah, it's here. But I love the internet. We're here tonight, which is brilliant, you know. So this is Awesome Enchantress. I am a queen, a magnificent being. I am an empress, goddess supreme. I am worshipped, I am adored. I taste the blood on my avenger's sword. I am moonflight, I am solar, the blackest hole, the brightest star, the sparkle in the feather of the nightjar. Small beak, big mouth, gape into the dark, feeding on small pleasures, beats my heart and my art. The glisten, the vision, the listening ear, the spine of the temple of the book, the words you spell and weave, supply the succor, hold you up, caught in a web, a thorny bush, delving, look. A spell in my finger makes me bleed, a tiny scrape of wood could kill me, yet I battle storms, overcome threats, protect my loves. Spelt I grow to feed your bellies, swell your ego, delve at your leisure, caress my flesh, my body is yours at my behest. Now the tide's turned equal measures, no more 47s to say no, to pressure, flashes of magic on 220 buses raked my ashes, walking gravelly paths through graveyards, absorbing the bones, breathing in praise of the magical wise ones. Awesome enchantress, behold my bladed tongue, sovereign gold autumn chanter, yours for the taking, but take care to smear, to wear out my trust. Ashes to ashes, you are dust. I am a queen, a magnificent being. I am an empress, a goddess supreme. I am worshipped, I am adored. I am the blood on my avenger's sword. I am a moonflight, I am a star. I am the sparkle in the wing of the nightjar. And that was inspired by 220 bus rides to work before COVID, when I tried mindfulness and say, I'm a queen, I'm a queen. I'm not an NHS worker.
I thought that was absolutely brilliant, Wendy. Where can we read this?
It's in, I don't know if you've heard of Magical, it's backwards, Magical Women, the new Neurodivergence Artist magazine. I don't know if you know Eleanor Rowlands.
I don't, but I'm going to look it up first.
Eleanor Claire Rowlands, it was her, it's through that anyway.
Fantastic. And
thank you for listening.
Kate is also saying I need to look Magical Women up. Cheryl says truly powerful, brilliant performance as always.
Thanks, Cheryl.
Margaret says lovely and powerful. And yes, marvellous. I really enjoyed that. I'm not quite sure it was exactly what your therapist was intending.
I've got to think positive anyway. Yeah, I know. But
I really want that verse printed out on my wall, so I'm going to have to contact you about that as well. I just loved it. So I'm sorry to say that before I could get to a couple of them, people have got tired and gone. So if anybody wants to read a poem but is about to, well, just slowly go to sleep, then please put your hand up. There is a raise hand button. I would say on the bottom of your screen. It's on the bottom of my screen, but I know if you're on an iPad, just to confuse everybody, it's at the top. But there is a button that says raise hand and we can come to you. In the meantime, Alison Marchant, who leads our club's programme, I think I'm going to ask you to read next, and then Julie Newman as our chair. Now, yes, I'll leave Emily to sort that out. As you can tell, she's very efficient. So I'd just like to, just remind you again that you can access the previous festival events, including the poetry night, on the website www.together2012.org.uk. Just go to the event page from the programme and you'll find the video there. Sometimes you'll find extra videos and also social media links. Alison, it's so lovely to see you. Alice, well, it's particularly lovely to see Alison because she really wasn't a digital person at all, but now she's doing amazing things, running Zoom clubs off a mobile, it has to be said. So incredibly techie, running this big conference called Poetry Club and writing poems. Anybody who came to our 2019 festival may remember Alison's wonderful exhibition where she'd taken over 2 or 3 years sitting at the back of our art club because she was then a volunteer. Alison, well, tell us about your book as well, because I'd like to give it a quick plug.
I had Virginia Woolf's Writer's Diary, and I crossed out all the text apart from the text which talked about her mental illness and writing, so that you was left with a different story. So it was like taking the story from the margins and putting it into the centre.
And we still have we still have copies of the physical book, only unfortunately, of course, they're in storage. We haven't quite worked out a way how to bring that out on Kindle. Alison's book, forgive me for saying this, but you've been doing some very interesting poetry because you've been using that kind of 50s kind of cut-up technique, very William Burroughs, and taking lines from other people's stuff and things off Wikipedia. But what poem are you going to read us tonight? Is it an original or is it an original one cut up?
I'll do one that's cut up. It's called Self-Portrait, and it's cut up from John Asbury's 12-page poem that was also called Self-Portrait in a Convex Mirror, and I've added my own parts to it as well. A reflection of which the portrait is once removed, how far can it swim through my eyes, in a gaze of tenderness, amusement and regret? In the silence of the studio she considers lifting a pencil to the self-portrait. The mirror organises everything. In the background the room contains the flow, in the rose wallpaper, like a glass hourglass, the growing up of days around a life.
Thank you, Alison, and thank you for sharing your technique. Yes, the book will be available again. You know, we just need to find out how to sort of progress things from this temporary shutdown that happened 20 months ago and the situation we now find ourselves in. And I think this is a good time to invite Julie Newman, our chair, to join us and read a poem. Alison, you can just switch yourself off. Brilliant. If anybody is keen, who hasn't read, first of all, if you haven't read a poem and you're willing to, please put your hand up now, because we'll have room for one or two more people. And if somebody's desperate to do a second poem, also think about that. But in the meantime, Julie Newman, can you pop your camera on, please? All the way downstairs.
Oh goodness!
It's all right. We can hear you. We can hear you. We can see you. Can you?
It's telling me all these instructions, and I don't know what it means.
Gremlins. No point in worrying about it.
It is the Gremlins, and I've got to follow the wonderful Alison Marchant and the goddess that is Wendy Young. I have to say, Wendy, I loved that poem, and I want to lick the blood off of my sword, sort of in the near future.
Thank you, Julie. This is a family-friendly event.
Oh yes, sorry, I forgot. Okie doke, let's go to my poem. It's Autumn Colours. This is following on from one of our poetry club themes. After the brash brightness of summer suns, the autumn leaves fall on a quieter world, busy still getting ready for the barren times ahead with shorter days and longer nights. The rustle of small creatures amongst the leaves gives them life, even as they lie in dead heaps piled into corners. Their days as green foliage ended with the coming of the paler sun. And dark, cold days. The leaves change on the trees. A different palette is used to paint the landscape. Shrubs and plants now join the symphony of oranges and reds, turning to yellows and browns. Now come the winds, gusting and raging in a minute, then suddenly still. The fury becomes a gentle breeze, the leaves, having no purpose in remaining tight upon the branches, release their hold. As the greenery becomes a memory of a season, now changing, so the leaves fall and join the detritus, swept along and piling high, opportunistically wherever catches the wind. The yellows, reds and browns cloak the earth, a mantle against the bitter days to come. In time the banks will settle, no longer caught in the whirlwinds rushing past. These sanctuaries provide cover for creatures seeking warm, dark corners in which to lay in quiet slumber. The busy days of autumn soon pass into the somnolent stillness of winter frosts. Thank you.
Thank you, Julie. And I'll say what we usually say on the live stream. We don't know how you manage to go in and write a poem every week in the club, but we're very grateful. If you'd like to join the Pop-Up Poetry Club, just check out our website, www.together2012.org.uk. Look at the 2021 programme, and there's links to all of the clubs there. So we've got room definitely for one more. In fact, we could have two. So I'm going to come to Anthony first and then Jemima, who has a short, fun one. And I think that's always a good note to finish on. So if we can do beauty in normalcy, which is a whole other conversation which we must have at some point soon, Emily, then brilliant. There we are. Add the spotlight. Fantastic. Over to you.
Thanks, everyone. I thought the first poem was quite fresh, and so it kind of threw me off guard when I was reading it. So this one is called The Corpse in the Mirror. It's a bit of a sad one, but I can have a bit of a brief talk afterward, like how to make it a bit more happy. Darkened, sunken eyes, the undead figure staring back through this glass, not a window, but a mirror, full of emptiness among a desolate landscape, a world where everything has died, struggling and failing to survive. Here you are with me, you corpse with nothing but death in your eyes, lost, hollow, broken in a world so cruel and uncaring. The corpse staring back at me. Oh, you used to be alive, so loving and caring. But oh, how the world broke you. And now you're here looking back at me, staring. I cannot even tell if you see me, for your eyes are piercing through me, dying infinitely. In this life that broke you, broke me. It's a dark poem, but in all my poetry, hence the name Beauty and Normalcy and my photography, even the darkest of poetry, you can find beauty and light in it, because for me, poetry has helped me find light in the darkness, even through writing about darkness. And that's all I have to say particularly.
That makes perfect sense. Thank you, Anthony. If you could take the spotlight off Emily. And we can't, unlike our government, we can't pretend that this isn't a dark time, but I think there's such joy and strength in coming together. And I'm really, really pleased that Jemima is with us, and Jemima is going to give us, I think, our final poem. But I would just like to say hello to Crystal, who's only just got in and therefore is unable to read her poem. And also to Sarah Hughes, one of our directors, who was able to join us briefly and has unfortunately lost the connection again. But Sarah was such a massive force behind our Pop-Up Poetry Club for so long. I'd love to say hello, Sarah, but you've gone again. But in the meantime, have we got sound now from Jemima? Can I just check with her PA or with Janet?
I think so, yes.
Yeah, we can hear you. That's brilliant. So over to Jemima for our very last poem.
In my writing group, we always end up talking about food. We thought about describing things using all our senses, so I had to write about chocolate. My mum and I baked Nicholas chocolate chip cookies. They are really good. Homemade chocolate chip cookies. I gaze at the dark chocolate brown disc with dome white chips peeping through the cracks. I can smell rich cocoa. I bite the crisp edges of the cookie, and my mouth is full of crumbly dough and gooey center, and the intense taste of dark chocolate.
That's it.
Fantastic. Thank you, Jemima. Like I say, it's been, yeah, it continues to sadden us that we can't just hand out refreshments through the screen, but I'm not sure that that's going to happen anytime soon. But I think Jemima has at least summed up what we would like to be eating with you, and I hope you're able to get to your kitchen and indulge, if not in some chocolate chip cookies. If you haven't yet had supper like me, then have a great supper. I'm just going to read a few more. D.L. Williams is saying, living vicariously through Anna the Turp, because the interpretation, of course, of that chocolate, I can actually taste it myself. Emily says these were also brilliant. I've enjoyed every one. And of course, we'd all like to thank Emily, because it's great that you've enjoyed it, because you've been pressing so many buttons at the same time. Kate said that was making me hungry. Margaret says, yummy. Anthony says, I love the memory. Who doesn't love chocolate and cookies? Wendy Young saying, core Jemima, And also people are thanking Emily, which I think is great. I'd also like to thank Anna and Ben again for our interpretation, Norma from Global Real-Time Captioning. I'd like to thank the Arts Council England and the National Lottery Community Fund. And of course, I'd like to thank all of you, poets and audience. You've been fantastic. We really appreciate you coming. Have a great evening, and we hope to see you again soon.